It is no secret South Carolina needs teachers in the classroom. State law creates a complicated system for punishing teachers who break their contracts.
A WIS investigation into that system has found it's undermined by delays and questionable enforcement. Department of Education data shows that former Lexington II and Richland II teachers faced that system at a higher rate last year than any of their Midlands counterparts.
Chief investigative reporter Chris Joseph sat down with the players at all levels of this process. So Chris, how does the system work?
Well, Dondi, there's a lot of things going on here, a few different steps. If teachers break contract and the district is okay with it, that's it. That's the end of it. But districts can also choose to report teachers to the State Board of Education. That board often suspends their teacher certifications, which keeps those teachers from teaching at any other public school. Department records show teachers who cite health concerns, family obligations, or other educational opportunities routinely have had their certificates suspended.
Former middle school teacher Cammie Reed says her passion for teaching drove her from her Lexington II classroom to a classroom at the University of South Carolina, helping advise future teachers.
And I want to help support teachers as they are preparing during their undergraduate, possibly their graduate careers, and to be the best teachers that our South Carolina students need.
She informed the district of her intentions to work at USC and submitted her resignation on August 13th, 2021. The Lexington II School Board voted to report her to the State Board of Education 6 days later, triggering a potential certificate suspension.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
It's disheartening because I am still working for Lexington II for those students there. We have some of those students here that I see on the Horseshoe and wave at, and I was their 7th grade science teacher.
She chose to fight it and says she spent 100 hours preparing for a Board of Education hearing that would never come. Reed, the district, and the board settled for a public reprimand on January 17th, 2023.
Yes, it was exhausting.
Lexington II's board chair, Beth Branham, declined an interview and says she can't talk specific cases, but sent a statement reading in part, because of the teacher shortage, it is the district's practice not to release a teacher from his or her contract.
Would you go back to teaching in middle school?
Sure. I loved it.
Would you go back to teaching middle school in Lexington too after this?
I don't know. Based on the bureaucracy and red tape I faced, no. If I could go back to that school with just that staff and just that leadership and just those students, I would.
At nearby Richland II, former teacher Kristen Sumter resigned in December 2021 over extreme stress and health issues. The school board voted to pursue her certificate.
She left Richland II and started a new job. She left that job, and by August 2022, she was teaching at Richland I in a new classroom.
That December, the certification case caught up with her. A Department of Education hearing officer gathered information about the circumstances surrounding Sumter and wrote to the board in part, requiring more students and another district to experience these burdens would serve no useful purpose. Suspending Sumter during the 2023-24 school year also would accomplish nothing. The State Board of Education suspended her for 6 months, taking her out of her Richland I classroom.
All those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye. I was fired abruptly, so I had to be terminated the next day. There was no way to let the kids know. It was no way to transition and facilitate that so that it could best benefit kids.
Do you think you'd still be teaching now if your license hadn't been suspended?
Yeah, I would definitely still be teaching now. I was really enjoying my position. My admin was supportive. They had supports in place. We had a 30-minute lunch break. It was a really good place to be.
Department of Education Deputy Superintendent Laura Bain agreed to an interview as a spokesperson for the board.
It seems to be directly counterproductive. If the goal is to keep teachers in the classroom, the board literally took a teacher out of a classroom. And I gotta wonder why that rationale was found or why that happened.
I can't speak on the specifics of a individual case. I can just say that the board is diligent in their analysis.
At a local level, Richland 2's school board leadership has changed since it voted to pursue Sumter's certification. Emails obtained by WIS show new chair Lindsay Agostini has previously expressed concern with the lack of insight the board had on certification votes.
There have been a number of times where I've requested additional information from recommendations from administration for breach of contract, and I haven't received that, so I've not been able to support it.
She suggested the new board is taking a softer stance on the issue. Advocates are concerned the system is punishing teachers like Reed and Sumter through questionable enforcement. Department records also show a Richland 1 teacher was suspended in 2021 after he resigned for wanting to spend time with family prior to his deployment. A Richland 2 teacher was suspended in 2022 after she resigned to relocate due to her significant other's job change. Several other teachers cited COVID concerns.
There's no reason why that person should not be allowed to go back into the classroom if their personal circumstances change to where they are able to work. It's important to note that when somebody resigns, they're giving up their salary. Like, there is a consequence for this resignation.
And if you are going to breach their contract and suspend their license, I doubt they're going to come back and work for your district.
The state board suspended former Lexington 2 and Richland 2 teachers at a higher rate than any of their Midlands counterparts last year. The reasons for the broken contracts varied, but the two districts dwarfed nearby Richland 1 and Lexington 1.
And if you develop a reputation as being likely to go after a teacher's certificate for any reason, that is going to be a disincentive for others to want to come work in your district.
Bain says districts can choose how often to pursue the certifications.
The board doesn't have a specific issue with some districts utilizing it and some districts not. Districts across their operational areas have a great deal of latitude just based on local policy.
Bain and board member Alan Walters stressed the importance of teacher accountability and cautioned against leniency.
We certainly don't want anyone to be in an environment that they are not comfortable in and they don't want to be in, but ultimately they entered into a contract and assumed responsibility for a whole classroom of students.
Because when they walk, they're walking to the next district over that can pay a higher salary than the one they're at. And if that district has a need, then they can start poaching from smaller districts that can't pay as much.
Walters says teachers often don't put up any arguments, forcing the board to draw its own conclusions about a suspension and its severity.
It's easier to grant mercy from somebody who asks for it than somebody who doesn't show up.
He conceded the process should be sped up, and Department of Education data shows that situation is improving. However, it can still last longer than a year. When the suspensions come down, they are regularly the maximum one-year penalty.
Now, it's important to note teachers can get their certifications reinstated, but the data shows teachers seeking those reinstatements, that's very rare. Now, a bill is now moving through the State House, which would loosen the rules surrounding the breach of contract. Dondi?
Chris Joseph, thank you so much. And you can find data on how your Midlands district pursues breaches of contract in Chris's story right now, which is on our website, WISTV.com.